I have been struggling for at least a month at this point with Okarun's collar. You guys see my problem with patterning this collar? Do you guys see my problem? So far for Okarun, I have just been patterning him, and I'm trying to get this pattern right because I want this thing to look right. And I've done a lot of things to get to this point so far, but I legit have like no finished pieces to this cosplay yet, and I probably will not for a hot minute. The hardest part so far has been patterning this collar. The main body of the coat has not been that like big of a struggle to pattern because I'm actually going to use the same pattern that I used last year for Kasane Teto. I am here today to take you through the saga, the road so far, of this stupid pattern. Here is one of the first drafts. So originally, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like look at a regular shirt pattern and like split it in half and then just add a bunch of flames to the end of it. But then it didn't like sit right. So I was like, okay, it needs a dart. So I gave it a dart. And then this was just like, I just drew this one, right? And so I took this and then I digitized it and I made it bigger. And I got this one, which is essentially the same thing. It's just a little bigger and it does still have the dart. And I felt like that was a little better. So then I transferred this to fabric. This is what I ended up with. And I wasn't like super tryharding to get this whole thing totally right. But this just was not working. The biggest thing I wasn't happy with was like when I'm front ways, this feels like it's so square, you know? Like I wanted it to be more like out. And the hard thing is, weirdly, the hard thing is that I can kind of do whatever I want as long as I get the general shape of it right, because it never looks the same. And I thought doing a dart, and like doing a dart in a collar is kind of insane. But I just felt like it needed it because when it was straight, it just didn't curl around my head like this one does. So what I ended up doing after I had this one, and I did this is, you know, a full fabric mock-up. What's inside of this is the Pellon 71F, the stuff I used for Ronnie's hat back in the day. I still just have a bunch of it. And I feel like the Pellon 71F is a pretty good stabilizer for this. But this shape just wasn't right. What ended up happening was I made this and then I took a picture of myself and I like brought it into Fresco, trying to figure out what shape this needed to be at. Mostly I was trying to figure out what shape I wanted around my head, and then I was like, I need to sculpt it. And I sculpted it. So then I ended up with this. This is such a ridiculous, like, this is how much I have gone through to get to this pattern, and there's more. There's more that I went through for this pattern. Honestly, I would start with a hood pattern and then modify it. Maybe the shape would be better. We've ended up with a good shape, but this is the story of how we got to the good shape. And that story starts with this thing. So this is Monster Clay. I have showed this on the channel before. Monster Clay is like, it's a clay. But it doesn't work the way like, you know, like earth clay does. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a sculpting medium, and it's a really, really easy to use sculpting medium. So like right now it's hard as because it's cold, but when you warm it up, it gets really, it can even get like liquidy. It gets really easy to work with when it gets warm, and you can like microwave it or like heat it with a heat gun to get it warm. So basically what I did was I printed out a piece of paper that was, and this is a circle that I just did in Illustrator. I just made a circle in Illustrator, and I made sure that it was the correct circumference. But this is I think a half scale version, okay? And this is like basically the same thing I did to pattern Pomni's hat, is I patterned it smaller, made sure that the circumference was the way it was supposed to be. So I like took the circumference of my own neck, then made a circle that was half that size. And I was pretty happy with this shape, but then I did something really stupid. So I thought that I was going to need a seam here and a seam here for some reason. But yeah, I did a tape pattern over this, and then I digitized it, and I got this. It has seams in here, okay? So this is just a piece of Pellon, right? There's no fabric over this. It has a seam here, and a seam in the back because I thought I needed them. And this one ended up looking like this. And I was so much more happy with this shape. Then I was like, hold on. If this basically sits flat when it's all sewn together, why the have I put seams in it? So then what I did was I got rid of the seams. And I ended up with this. Whoa. So I think I want to make that slightly bigger. Like, I'm so happy with the shape. The other thing was I figured out this other problem that I knew I was going to have. So this one is made of 2 pieces of cotton muslin that have been sewn, you know, they've been bag lined out all the way around this, right? The way you normally do a collar by bag lining it. And then the Pellon was just shoved in here, okay? But then for the flames, because it's bag lined and because these points are so tiny, it's really, 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 really hard to get a thin point like that to actually like turn out all the way. Like, I could sit here all day with my tiniest crochet hook and I would just never be able to get that as like pointy as it's drawn in the manga and in the anime. And while this is the clean way of doing it by fully bag lining it, I had this other idea that I was like, okay, that's more work, but it is cooler. That is why on this one, and while the Pellon is not like lining up correctly, that is why on this one there is just some random pieces of purple voile here, because I was also testing with this one to see how it would look if I do some of the red with a voile. So okay, so this is the idea, this is the plan. So what I would do to finish this, essentially, is, so like this part is bag lined, right? That's just bag lined, but then the bag lining stops right here. So the thought is that before bag lining it, I can take each of these sides and satin stitch the black part of the collar to extra voile flames that are coming off of it, so they end up kind of like not sitting together right, so that then it just looks like the red is coming out of the black. And I am gonna like dye the black, like the black will be gradiented red, but then it'll have like extra voile flames coming out of it, and then I will just have the voile be finished with by either burning it or fray checking it. And so it's just like one layer. And so that way, then what I'll do is once the black and the the black and the red are satin stitched together, I can just bag line them, and then this whole part will be finished, and I can just tack them together and not have to turn any points out. Very smart, very smart. My baby boy, he is so terrifying because he is all tailoring. I have not even thought about these pants yet. I did go ahead and make a wearable mock-up of the torso portion that I will show you now and that I will explain. So this fun little thing, look at this fabric. First of all, look at this fabric. Look at how fun. I made the just the torso portion, so no sleeves. And this was mostly to see if the coattails looked okay. Coattails. They look a little weird. Not gonna lie. Oh, I'm moving the kitty cam. Not gonna lie, the coattails look a little weird. Like, they don't sit right. But I think for actual Okarun, I might put some, like, tulle or something right here so that they stick out more. But they stick out pretty far, right? And so when you take these in accordance with this, this looks way too small. It's too small. It's too small. This, though, this is finished. But this was really just to see if the coattails worked. And obviously I didn't do any of the flames on the coattails. The coattail flames, I feel like I am gonna have to turn inside out, and if those are not super sharp, then, like, I'm fine, but I want really sharp points on the collar. Another thing I have to consider with this collar is how big the wig is, and I want to put, like, detailing on this collar. Like, I want to put, like, beads and stuff. Like, I'm kind of going over the top with Okarun, so forgive me if I take my time on my boy. He's my baby boy. I don't think I can make the cosplay until I've made the wig, because if I make this cosplay and then I put it on and my wig just catches in all the beautiful detailing I've put on my collar, I'm gonna be pissed. So I do think I need to make the wig first. But I have the stuff to make the wig. I want to do another Foss shape wig like I did for Teto and Frieren. Because it's so heavily styled, I want this to be a helmet. And I can show you what I have for the wig so far, but it is Shining Nikki's wig. This is the very cheap wig that I must have bought this on, like, Amazon or eBay or something. It's not an Arda, it's not a nothing. It is a cheap lace front. That I used for Shining Nikki, and I don't really plan on wearing that cosplay ever again, so I'm gonna cut this up. Primarily, I am gonna use the lace portion of it, but the rest of it's gonna get chopped up to become Okarun. But I did not think this would be enough hair, so I also, for the first time in my entire life, I bought from Epic Cosplay. I know. For the first time. I've never bought from Epic before, but I did finally buy from Epic Cosplay, and I just bought white wefts. Which, like, poggers on Epic Cosplay for having white wig wefts in stock. Because Arda never does. And I love Arda. But I had to do it this way this time. I have heard that Epic Cosplay's fibers are easier to work with than Arda's fibers. If you don't know, Arda uses, like, their own proprietary wig fiber. Like, you cannot buy anything close to an Arda wig anywhere else because they're using their own fiber. Arda's fibers are called Hyperlon, and I don't know what Epic uses. I would assume they use, like, a high-quality Kanekalon, but I don't know. But I've heard that theirs are easier to style with, and I did notice a huge difference, and I don't think I ever talked about this, like, in the Teto wig video, but when I did Frierin's wig and then Teto's wig right after it, I did notice, like, a considerable difference in the difficulty of working with, like, Kanekalon fiber, which is what Frierin's wig would have been, and then going to the Hyperlon fiber with Arda. The Hyperlon is just, like, it's more heat resistant, but it's just a little harder to work with for some reason. Like, specifically doing, like, sculptural wigs or wigs you have to do a lot of glue with. I feel like the Hyperlon, I don't know how to describe it. It just didn't do what I wanted it to do as easily as the Kanekalon did. Here's Sarah's review of Epic Cosplay wig fiber. I mean, it feels like Kanekalon. And it's not super shiny, but it is still shiny. Like, all wigs are shiny. But Arda's are just, like, not. Because they're that different fiber. This past week, I have gotten so much done on him. He's nowhere near... Well, I'd say he's, like, 50% finished. But I will start with what you can see in the background. This is the beginning of the coat. So, he's not fully sewn together. There's a reason why, like, the back is together and the fronts are together. It's because it has to be done this way. But check this out. Woo! Look at that. Look at all of that. On the underside, you can see like where the points are gonna be. Woo! Look at this. Look at it. Look. Okay. The funny thing is, so I'm just gonna walk y'all through what I did this week. So, and the funny thing is like I have planned out how I was gonna do this. I have had it planned out for months, and I just haven't been able to do it yet. And so like I got started doing it this week, and it was just like boop, 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 we're going, because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So, first of all, black to red gradient. How in the world did I do a black to red gradient? Because if you're completely unfamiliar with dye, you might not know this, but if you are familiar with dye and you've ever tried to dye anything black, you know that black is just so hard to dye. Like trying to get something to be black, it's really, really hard. It never comes out perfectly black. It's very difficult. So what this fabric is, it's black fabric. It was all black, but it is Fabric Wholesale Direct's Julian brushed twill. It's actually what I wanted to use on my Kasane Teto last year. That if anybody remembers those streams, I bought the Julian brushed twill in like they're like one of their gray colors, and they sent it to me, and it was like a very different gray than the swatch, and they had switched that gray over to that certain gray, and I couldn't get it anymore. Anyway, it's a really, really nice fabric for suiting. It's a twill, and twill is just a good fabric for suiting, but I really like this one because it's brushed. One side of it is a little softer, and the other side is, this also makes it very hard to tell the difference, like which side is the right side. You literally can only tell by feeling it and like looking up really close. And like it's not that big of a visual difference, but you can feel it. It's like a little softer. So it feels really nice. But importantly, it's 100% cotton. So all I did was I used the RIT color remover and did a dip dunk RIT color remover on these pieces, and then just dyed them red. And it came out like I had to do them as pieces. So if you look at the seam, like, I mean, on camera, you can't even really like tell that they're not, yeah, you can kind of see it. They don't line up like perfect. But it's like, it kind of almost looks like it's part of the flames. And so how cool is that? Very smart. Yeah, in some ways it's kind of one of the few ways you can do it. Like there are things like say you wanted to do this jacket in like a pleather, which I feel like would be miserable to wear. But if you did it in like a pleather, you could use paint to do the red, or you could use it's called the tulip color shot. Works really well on like a vinyl and pleather. You could do it that way. One of the things I noticed, did you do a gradient dunk? I did a gradient dunk. Hi, pins. I did a gradient dunk of color remover, and then because the fabric was black, and so I dunk stripped it and made it like, it doesn't even take it all the way to white because it was, because it's black fabric, so it's gonna stay kind of like an orangey color. And then I just didn't even really have to worry about where the dunk went because I'm not gonna dye the black anymore red. So then I just had to dye it red. But it looks really good. And then, okay, so these sequins. These sequins are actually real clunky. I'm gonna zoom in for you so you can see how unprofessional these sequins are. Look at that. So these are strung sequins. They're not individually sewn on. They are just sewn on with a zigzag stitch. You can see the back. See the zigzag? They're just zigzagged on. I don't know if I would recommend that for everybody's sewing machine, but my sewing machine Not this one. I would not do this on this one because it's a family heirloom. But my my Burnett Academy, it does not blink at sequins and will sew right through them. So they're on there, and then the sequins are kind of like, you can see how off it is from the actual like plan of where the spikes will be. Also, this was a thing I didn't even think of until I was doing it, but so the flames are essentially going to be done like you know, they're like pointed scallops. And so like I did pattern out where the flames will be in my pattern, but I don't ever like to cut out my like main fabrics. Like, I don't cut the scallops out until the scallops are in. That's a me thing. I just think it's way easier because then you can pin, you know, above the scallops too. But then I also still needed a way to make sure I knew where the pattern was supposed to be, because I put all that work into patterning the flames. So what I did was I just cut the flames out of the interfacing, fused the interfacing on, and now I have a guide for later when I get to scalloping them to know where I'm supposed to do it. Big brain. And then this stuff, I'll zoom in again. This with the squigglies. They look like there's some fancy bouillon wire, but they're not. It's, this is craft cord. This is, like, for wrapping presents. This is literally metallic Christmas cord to, like, put around presents. And it just looks really metallic and fancy, and I love it. So I've been doing that this week. The sequins, obviously, I did by machine, but then all of the squiggles I had to do by hand. And so the squiggles are just on the bottom of the tails of the coat, but they do go all the way. They're on the back too. I like the way the back turned out. I feel like I think it looks really cool. I think I wanted it to like make it seem like it's like flames, you know? Because like in the anime, the bottom of his coat and the top of his collar and his hair are always moving like they are flames, which is one of the things that made patterning this difficult, was because he never looks the same in every shot. So I wanted to do something that kind of made your eye think of that movement. And I think this kind of does it and makes it fancy and special. And I really like it. And all of this stuff, and when I talk about this in the video, I'm obviously going to say this. But doing this with this sparkly craft cord meant for wrapping presents and doing it in this way, 100% inspired by Sarcasm Hime's embellishment panel, where she talked about sewing on sparkly craft cord as an embellishment, and her whole thing is that if it is pretty, then it can be an embellishment. And that is such a freeing thing, because like in my mind, if you're aware of like goldwork stuff, this looks so, it has the look of like bright red bouillon wire, which is what you do gold work with. And bouillon wire is bouillon wire is really difficult to work with because it's like a tiny little spiral, and it's really beautiful and it reflects the light really well, but it's really annoying to work with, and it's not cheap. And this was like, I don't know, I think it was like $10 or $15 for 100 yards. So I will have sparkly craft cord to wrap presents up with forever, and way more than I need for Okarun. I gotta tell you about the collar. So it's not standing upright yet, but look at this. Look at this. Oh, it's huge. It looks, when I put it on and like held it up, I was like, okay, this looks way too big. But then I put it on with the wig and I was like, yes, yes. So I ended up doing this so weird, but very smart. I'm very proud of how this, like, how I did this. So there's two pieces. So right now, This one is the front because it has all the fancy, and this one is the back because I didn't do anything on it. I need y'all to help me decide if I put myself through doing the squigglies on the back of this too. The reason I don't want to is because I had to do all of this not on a hoop, and it was really annoying, and I don't think I care if the back doesn't have that on there, but the back of the collar also is pretty prominent. So I don't know, maybe, but maybe it's like does this look cool enough on its own without the squigglies? I think it does. I don't know. Maybe I need to I need y'all to bully me into doing it if I need to do it. So this was one of the first tests I did. You should do the squiggles. Okay, if Pins is telling me I have to do it. If it's prominent, I'll do it. I can get it done tomorrow. It didn't take that long to do. It was just annoying, but I'll do it. It will look cooler. Now that I'm thinking about it, so like the back side of the collar, when you're looking at the coat, like you'll see this really cool, these squiggles on the bottom, but then if I don't do it, then you're gonna look up at the top of it, like from the back, and there won't be any squiggles if I don't do it. So I guess I should do it. If Pin says I should do it, then I should probably do it. So there's this piece of voile. It was actually pink voile that I bought for wedding stuff, which is why it looks kind of pink, and I dyed it red, and it's still a little pink, but we're gonna ignore that. I kind of like that it looks kind of pink. So what I did, I satin stitched the points to the voile. So now I have this extra layer that looks really cool. And it finished off those edges so that they could be beautiful and pointy, and they look really nice. And also, you know, added benefit to doing it this way is the voile on its own is like helping everything keep its shape, which I did not think about when I decided to do this, but it is doing that, and that is pretty freaking cool. And like, there will be a structure inside that would have done that anyway, but it's just like a double whammy of like, oh, that's awesome that it's just holding all of that up together. And then to finish the voile, Pins, you're like, oh, that's clever. This was another thing I stole from Sarcasm Hime's panel. Do you not remember her talking about doing this? This was another thing I learned from her. Because what I figured was, so like, these edges are finished because they're covered in the satin stitching, but these edges, this is polyester voile. So one of the ways you can finish any polyester fabric is by cutting it, by burning it, especially the sheer ones. That's like a very common thing to do. I did not feel like doing that, so I did a thing that I picked up in Sarcasm Hime's panel, which was, I did Dynaflow around the edges, which was also in purpose to make it look more red, because it doesn't look very red. And then, so I did like a layer of Dynaflow, and then a layer of fray check, and then just cut it out, and it is not fraying, so that's pretty cool. Is it like the most professional way to do it? No, but it's the cosplayer way to do it, and that's okay. And so the way this is gonna work is, instead of any of this top part getting bag lined, I will bagline this bottom part, like that is actually like this part of the collar that like comes around my face. It's gonna get baglined from here to up through this first point, so that all of this is a nice clean edge and is, you know, baglined. But then I'm not gonna bagline any of this. I'm gonna put the structure in there, which is going to be Pellon 71F, because of course it is. And then I'm just gonna hand tack, you know, these two together, and they are mirrors of each other, so all the spikes will line up, and it will look like it's all one piece that's all together, but it's actually not. And I hope it looks cool. I think it does look cool. It already looks cool. I'm very happy with this. And I did all of this. These both are done being satin stitched. This one needs the squigglies. But I did all of this week. I have not worked on a project like this in a while. Like, the last I guess Teto was the last cosplay I made that, like, actually had lots of details. Because, like, Freerin wasn't a lot. Pomni was no fine details at all. Penelope was no details. And Momo was no details. And so I've kind of forgotten how quickly I can force myself to go through and, like, satin stitch the entire collar. Because it's, you know, I have lots of time to do that because this is my job. Mew Lancaster said, it's the blessing of really wanting to do a cosplay. That's the thing, though, is, and I said this before on stream, but I have been very afraid that I was going to let Okarun, like, slip through the cracks and, like, never finish him. But like, realistically, I might be done with him, like, when we do next week's stream. Next steps is, first of all, collar has to get done. Collar's gotta get done. I gotta do the other squigglies, because y'all are forcing me to do the other squigglies. Because y'all are great people that know I can do it. But once the collar is done, the interesting thing about this, so the reason why his side seams are, like, his side seams are gonna be some of the, like, last things to get sewn up besides, his sleeves. The reason being is, so this pattern is actually, well, the top part of it. This part of the pattern right here is the Needle Workshop's double-breasted pattern that I used for Teto last year. And then the rest of this I just made up. So, like, the collar has to go on, and then I have to take the lining and, like, bag line it to the front of this. But because of these weird coattails, I can't finish the bottom the way you're, like, supposed to with suiting. So the bottom of it, like, I'm gonna have to sew from here, do all of these, go all the way up through here, go through the collar, go down the other way and down the other side, and leave the sides open so that this can get bag lined, and so the lining can go, you know, get lined in there. But then all of the sides will still be open, and then I gotta do the same thing to the back. But it's gonna be like, I will just bag line through the bottom. And I know this works. You know why? This was my mock-up to see how that would work. You see how this doesn't have the flames on it, and it's badly done, but it's bag lined all the way through the bottom, up through the top, around the collar, and it's all closed. But look, the side seam here. Yeah, can you see those stitches? Those are hand stitches in the side seam. Because once I do all that, I can, like, machine sew the side seams together still, but then on the outsides. But then on the lining, you have to go in and do it by hand. And then the sleeves are going to be similar. So it's like the sleeves will get sewn on the outside by machine, and then the lining sleeves are going to get flipped in and sewn in by hand, because that's just what you do with tailoring when you line it. The one thing that was weird with this, and part of this was that I made this in, like, a day. Like, not in, like, a few hours. I did not... The hard thing was, once I got the side seam closed, it was incredibly difficult to get in there with the iron, like, under the lining to, like, press it all. So I might, like, pre-press the side seams before they even get sewn together, so that it's not that difficult. But I know that works. And that's... Once I finish doing the squiggles on the collar, I can get the collar put together. I told you how I was going to do that. I don't think that's going to be a struggle. But once I get the collar together, I get it on. I can put the lining in. I do want to put a pocket in the lining, but I'll do that at some point. That won't be, like, a big thing. And then I'll just have to do buttons and buttonholes on the front. and get the side seams together, and like the jacket will be done very soon. The jacket will definitely be done by next week. But once I do that, the only thing I'll have to do left is the pants. And I have not made a pair of pants, like a pair of non-stretch pants. I have not made a pair of non-stretch pants since 2016, and that did not go well. Though I made a pair of pants for my Undine from a duct tape pattern. I did a duct tape pattern of my legs to make like these cool pants for my Undine cosplay, and I ended up having to cut them apart and add like a spandex panel, because I was like, wow, yeah, I did not think about my like foot not being able to go through the same hole that my ankle can go through, because I'm dumb. But so my plan for the pants is actually, I have this shorts pattern. This is one of those Kiana Bonolo designs. She actually has a YouTube channel, I found out. I did not know that for a while, but her like leather dress pattern is that one that I've used the torso of like so many times. And I ended up buying these shorts. I bought this pattern last year and I did make shorts out of it. It's the shorts that I usually wear with my like casual Teto outfit, and I really like the fit of them. They're loose, and I did not feel like trying to find a pants pattern because Etsy is so ridiculous now with the AI patterns. And I know basically what I did was I already have the pants cut out. I just cut out that shorts pattern and made it longer. And, like, they're going to be, like, way too wide leg when I cut them, and I'm just going to tailor them in because I don't know how to make pants. Well, I know how to make pants. They're just, like, I'm like, shorts, cool. Pants, ooh. But when I did make those shorts, they do have a fly. Oh, yeah, there's AI patterns all over Etsy, and it's like, it's actually really frustrating to try and buy patterns on Etsy now. And like I'm good enough to like I'm good enough at knowing like what patterns are supposed to look like and what like the promo photos of a pattern usually look like to be able to tell that a pattern is made by AI and that it's never actually been tested on a human body. If you want to know how to tell, if they do not have what looks like a real photo of that thing that is made, then don't trust it. If they just have an illustration of it, it's f***ing AI. And also, if they have a photo of it, look really closely at the photo and make sure it's not AI. Like, if it looks like a real, like, you know what a real photo looks like? Or stick to designers like this one, like, look up the store, see if they have any other social media. This person has a whole YouTube channel. I know they're a real person. The Kiana Bonolo designs. I have a couple of hers. I do not think her patterns are like super size inclusive from what I remember. Some of them might be. But I just know like I only, when I buy the sizes, there's only a little bit of a size, and sometimes you get a much bigger range, but she might have them sold separately. I don't know. But yeah, look up who you're buying the pattern from, because it might be AI, the garbage that won't actually work. Wig time. Ooh. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, collar. Pop the collar, pop the collar. Ha ha! Oh! Okay, y'all. I have not. I'll be really honest. I have said that I was really scared that Okarun was gonna fall through the cracks. Like, I was scared I was gonna lose interest and not finish this. And Then I made that witch hat, and I was just like, I'm not even excited to wear Okarun. I am excited to wear Okarun now, y'all. Look at me. The makeup works, honestly. Like, it's very messy, and I should, like, improve on my application of it. But you know what? I am a yokai boy. I purposely made it asymmetrical, but that also means it's, like, weighted weird. I may need to put some wire in here just for the sake of putting it on Joe. I'll look cool. I'll be an awkward guy, after all.